Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks very much for joining this webinar. I'm Natasha Giroux, my email, but I just got married to Natasha Barley, soon to be. I'm an innovation program manager here at Connected Places Catapult, and I am going to be managing this program that we're discussing today. This is an application support webinar around the Scale Up Support Program, Transport and Construction, delivered in partnership with Innovate UK. We can move on to the next slide and kick off. So, yeah, thanks so much for being here. I know it's the sort of tail end of August, but we wanted to get this in this week so that you did have time to apply when you potentially get back from the holiday that you're dialing in from. So thanks very much for signing up. We are going to start with a welcome officially from CPC and a background to the program from Alex Whedon, the Enterprise Innovation Director. I will then sort of do a program overview. We'll then delve a little bit more into the partnerships on this program with Richard Wigley. Philip Moorcroft will discuss eligibility and what sort of applicant we're looking for. I'm going to go over the program timelines and the selection process. I will just sort of cover some common pitfalls that we often see and final tips. And then we do have a Q&A section at the end. Please do pop your questions as we go along into the Q&A function so we can pick them up at the end at 11:15. So I'm now going to pass over to Alex Whedon, the Enterprise Innovation Director, to welcome you all officially.
Hi, Natasha. Hello, everybody. Thank you for that, Natasha, and good morning to you all. I've just noticed that my camera is taking a while to zoom in because it looks like I'm miles away. There we go. It's done it now. I was going to say pass the salt there for a minute. And I've also noticed that I'm wearing the same shirt that I had in my little avatar there on there. That wasn't planned, by the way, but it does show that I'm not catfishing anybody. So anyway, as Natasha said, we'll be taking you through how the programme will work and what to expect and how to apply. But before that, I just thought we'd maybe go through a little bit of a quick introduction to the CPC and a little bit of the background thinking on the Scale Up programme. So I'm Alex Whedon, as Natasha said, Enterprise Innovation Director here at the Catapult. My team looks after the SME and Investor Networks, our Business Insights team, and our Matrix Business Support teams who deliver programmes like this and accelerator programmes and clusters as well. So who is Connected Places Catapult? Well, we are the UK's innovation accelerator, focusing on transport, the built environment and local growth. In practice, that means that we are accelerating innovation in things like smart mobility, clean transport, sustainable infrastructure, construction and urban development. By bringing these areas together, we can support regions and help to drive local growth, creating opportunities for communities and businesses all across the UK. Now, our approach to this is to identify gaps in the route to market for businesses in these sectors and to develop and deliver really focused interventions. That sounds very dramatic, but you know what I mean, that help businesses like yours to get to market and grow by creating an environment for technology to be actually adopted into the supply chains. Next slide, please. Now, we bridge the gap between discovery and markets. Now, this means that we take really good ideas and innovations and we help turn them into real-world solutions that can be adopted and scaled across communities, regions, and internationally. Now, we now focus on addressing market barriers and ensure that the best innovations reach the people and places that really need them. Overall, that means that our approach is to understand the barriers to market, the ecosystem of support, and to plug gaps in the construction and transport digital infrastructure businesses that we know have a high level. The sectors that we work in are really challenging markets for innovators. to break into. They're dominated by traditional supply chains, working along with low profit margins. They're highly regulated, and they often involve public money, which means you have to also deal with procurement mechanisms. So we've developed, and we continue to evolve, a consistent, repeatable methodology for accelerator programs that focuses on delivering exactly what businesses need to grow. Now, some of you may have already worked with us on programs, so you may know that we try to make sure that you have primarily the routes to customers to create commercial traction, which then makes a really strong case for investment. Next slide, please. So how do we fit into the wider world? So we're one of 9 Catapult centres supported by Innovate UK, and we're part of a national network accelerating innovation across the different sectors. Our unique funding model allows us to seed and encourage innovation where others are investing, while also being able to take calculated risks in areas where the market might not otherwise go. Now, that gives us flexibility to identify what you need to be successful and to deliver support for you to do that in almost a bespoke way. And you'll see a little bit about that a little bit later on. We understand that the ecosystem in the UK can be confusing, but we tried to help organisations to navigate that so that you can make the best use of Innovate UK funding, for example, the other catapults in the network that you can see here, universities and financing. And we see a lot of businesses working across those different sectors, working across different programs, and then also working with us to help them get further along that route to market. Next slide, please. So why are we doing this now? We know that these markets are going to grow in the transport and construction space. We also know that our accelerator models work really well alongside our other interventions, and that applies in regions, in sectors, and for different stages of businesses as well. So some of you may have come across the TRIG programs, for example, which tend to be a little bit more early stage. You may also be part of our wider network that provides support in a more general sense and a bit more guidance and light touch. But as you can see from this slide of what I'm going to call number wang, for those of you that might remember that phrase, I mean, that definitely dates me. But we know beyond these hard numbers that organisations that work with us do better than comparable businesses that don't. So creating more jobs, generating more revenue, and actually, most importantly, because of that, being able to raise more investment than businesses that don't work with us. Now, with most of our accelerators being the closest interventions that we have to market, we identified that there was still a gap in helping businesses to really grip that early market success and make the move to more genuine market scale. Hence the development and the piloting of this programme. So you're now going to hear from the rest of the Scale Up Accelerator delivery team, who will take you through the programme in more detail, who's eligible, what we can do to help. And we've also, you'll see, corralled a really amazing group of partners from the world of finance and operational development to help you to deliver on promise that you have already started to see. Now, this is a new iteration of what I think is a tried and tested approach. So we will be learning as we go along as well. But we have the flexibility to do that. So we can adapt and we can change as we go along. We have also undertaken already a lot of research and feedback sessions to help us design the programme. But I would just encourage you that it can only really fly if you ask questions and provide your own feedback. We're really interested to hear what you have to say. And finally, just to wrap up, obviously, we're really looking forward to working with you on this exciting new programme. Best of luck in applying, and I'll now hand back to Natasha for the next section. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. That was fantastic. So really nice framing of the programme, but I'll now go into a little bit more detail. As Alex said, a lot of our programs have sort of been called accelerators, and they sit in that TRL sort of 5, 6 space. We're looking to test in the operational environment, and we're looking to increase your TRL. But this program is a scale up. We are looking at the 7 to 9 Valley of Death TRL, as it's sometimes been called. And we're basically aiming to address the key challenge facing a lot of innovative businesses, which is transitioning from a successful early stage company into a scalable investment ready organization. And we are going to be doing this at a high level through a combination of expert coaching, investor engagement, and peer-to-peer learning. And we will help the participating businesses. We're going to select up to five, build foundations for sustainable growth, increased market adoption, and future investment. Um, so moving on to the next slide, please. A little bit more detail about what's on offer. We are offering fully funded, tailored support to help ambitious SMEs strengthen their growth foundations, access new commercial opportunities, and become investment ready. This will be a very flexible approach. And please note that we're not providing any investment ourselves or direct financial funding. So just going through the kind of six overarching support we'll be giving, starting with scale up coaching. We're going to be providing bespoke guidance on leadership, organizational design, growth strategy, sales capability, everything that might be involved in, and you might need support with on building a business ready for scaling. Investment is a massive part of this program. So we're going to be providing expert coaching on things such as fundraising strategy, engaging investors, targeting the right types of finance, and then providing those investor introductions. So not just any kind of investor we have to hand. We're going to be providing that curated set of introductions for you. And that might include venture capital, strategic and international investors. We're going to be providing some mentoring from investors themselves, so you can get a direct feedback and insights from really kind of experienced investors and fund managers. We're going to be giving you the opportunity to learn from each other on the program, but also from our wider Catapult ecosystem of startups and scale-ups. And finally, we will be providing kind of in-person showcase opportunities to investors. I'm now going to pass over to Richard Wigley, head of our enterprise network, to delve into the different partners we have onboarded onto the program to provide some of the support.
Good morning, everyone. So in developing a program partner portfolio for this particular program, we've been looking at working with organizations who can offer diverse ranges of support that can meet your stage of growth and your specific needs. We've also been looking at engaging with partners who can maintain relationships beyond the end of the program and continue to provide support. Broadly, we've been building our program partners in four buckets, as you can see there. I'm just going to quickly run through a few of them just to make sure that you understand who they are and what they are, because when you sort of look at them, it might look as though there's quite a lot of crossover. KPMG Emerging Giants are going to be working with the cohort to specifically about practical investor readiness and growth support, including understanding the maths of venture capital funding, preparation for fundraising, term sheets, and legal readiness. But KPMG also have great support for tax planning, incentive planning, and director responsibilities as well. Actia Capital Partners are, as the name might suggest, an infrastructure venture investment insight and investor pathway support organization. They back entrepreneurs building innovative infrastructure solutions from very early commercialization, and the focus is strongly aligned with our Connected Cases Catapult focus on transport construction and infrastructure. British Business Bank are going to be supporting the cohort through the UK finance landscape, specifically looking at understanding the mix of public and private finance and how that can support growth, particularly looking at where businesses might need guidance beyond traditional Innovate UK or similar provider grant funding. So looking at public finance outside of that very open competition and how to bring that into your growth mix. HSBC Innovation Banking is specifically looking at advanced finance bankability and growth capital. They are going to be looking at the full spectrum of growth financing, including things like venture debt, lending, working capital development, international banking, and financial readiness. From an operational maturity perspective, we're working with partners who can help your organization grow and be ready for its next stage of development. The NatWest Accelerator, unlike HSBC, is a little bit different, and they're looking at helping founders build capability, confidence, and networks needed to scale. They're going to be offering founder coaching, peer learning, and leadership development, as well as access to their wider support networks and some of their finance-focused partners. Julia Coronel, the consulting, is someone we've worked with and her team over the last year or so. We've had some absolutely brilliant work with them, looking at developing advisory boards with a diversity of thought and experience. She and her team are also absolutely brilliant at coaching leaders to understand their own capabilities and look at planning to fill in gaps of capacity and capability with the right skills and experience to make organizations investment ready. The BMS Group are an organisation who will specifically be working with us to understand insurance and risk considerations, particularly as businesses grow, secure larger contracts, or enter regulated or asset-heavy markets. They are particularly useful in preparing for investment, particularly the slightly overlooked elements of risk and insurance. Our initial commercial growth partner is an organization called Velvet Tiger. They look at things like sales systems, qualification frameworks, stakeholder mapping, procurement readiness, sales execution, and deal acceleration. They're going to be helping our SMEs that are on the program look at combining commercial growth with sales expertise and coaching founders to become better salespeople. And finally, to close the loop, we are also engaged with a couple of different partners looking at specifically at exit and succession planning. Ardentic are specifically looking at exit strategizing, which is something that as you grow and as you're looking to raise finance for scaling is going to be increasingly important and is increasingly overlooked by founders. And the London Stock Exchange team are going to be supporting organizations with understanding the routes to growth, particularly capital markets, scale up visibility, and later staging funding pathways. They have a number of programs that they run themselves, as well as deep expertise in future public market pathways. That's not necessarily looking at the FTSE, it's also looking at alternative investment markets and how to raise capital through different and rather obtuse and obscure ways involving public capital. The program partners that each individual organisation will be working with will be unique, and there is plenty of scope during the program for the mix of program partners who are supporting you to change as needs change or as more as different opportunities for support become visible and become obvious. We are going to be adding to the program partners. This isn't necessarily the final list. This is our list of confirmed partners at the moment. But I think you can be rest assured that the any future partners that we're going to add to each of these buckets are going to be of increasingly good quality and are going to be able to support all of your growth ambitions. And with that, I am going to hand over to Philip Moorcroft, who is our Head of Enterprise Investment and Insights, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the kinds of applicants that we're looking for.
Brilliant. Thanks, Richard, and good morning, everybody. I do apologise, I'm full of cold, so hopefully my voice will hold up and you'll be able to kind of hear and understand me clearly. But as Richard mentioned, I'm going to quickly talk through the types of SMEs and types of businesses that we're looking to recruit onto this program, and also the eligibility criteria for it. So, as you've heard already, this is not an early stage accelerator designed to help businesses prove an initial concept. In this program, we are really looking for ambitious UK SMEs that have already validated their solution, demonstrated market demand, and are now targeting a significant phase of commercial growth. Applicants may operate across transport, mobility, smart infrastructure, construction, urban data, or closely related other sectors. However, the important thing to note there is that, we want businesses that can clearly articulate how their solution addresses a genuine challenge in transport or the built environment, what the scale of that challenge is, and why solving it matters to customers. And that's the really kind of important bit. We expect the technology at this stage to be relatively mature. It may be hardware, it may be software, it may be a platform, it may be a data-driven solution, but it should have already been demonstrated in a real operational environment. As we've said, this program is really focused on helping proven solutions move away from successful pilots or early adoption into that wider commercial deployment. We are looking for businesses with strong evidence of traction. For many applicants, evidence of traction may mean annual revenue of upwards of £500,000, supported by paying customers, contracts, repeat business, and a credible pipeline. This is a typical profile that we're looking for rather than an absolute threshold, where applicants may fall slightly outside this revenue or other profiles we've set, but demonstrate exceptional potential or have excellent evidence of traction in other ways. Our assessors will kind of use discretion. That may be particularly relevant to kind of deep technology businesses, or businesses operating in markets with much longer procurement cycles. And we might consider other evidence such as contracts, letters of intent, funded deployments, or other kind of credible customer commitments. As Natasha mentioned at the start, investment is an important part of this program. So some applicants may already be preparing to raise, but we're not expecting every applicant to arrive fully investment ready or ready to launch a fundraise immediately. Helping businesses become more investment ready is one of the core parts of this program, one of our real central aims of it. We are particularly interested in those businesses who are kind of reaching that point where that external investment could really unlock their next phase of growth. So, this may be businesses that have already raised pre-seed or seed funding, but it is looking at businesses who are beginning to consider that larger raise, potentially at that kind of Series A level or beyond. Businesses coming on board, like I say, we're not expecting everybody to be fully investor ready at this point. So you may still need some support to determine how much capital is required, what type of finance is most appropriate, which investors to approach, and how that investment connects to your commercial or organizational plans. The program is really aimed to kind of help with that, strengthen that thinking, and develop those investment propositions and prepare for that investor engagement, as well as providing some real meaningful introductions to appropriate investors. Strong applicants will clearly be able to articulate the growth opportunity for their business, the barriers currently holding the business back, and how targeted investment support, coaching, and connections, such as those outlined already by Richard and Natasha, could really help make the business progress. We are looking for leadership teams that are coachable, open, and willing to engage honestly with challenges. The strongest participants will be the ones that don't arrive believing they have every answer, but they'll be prepared to kind of test their assumptions, acknowledge capability gaps, act on the feedback, and make changes where necessary. That openness, again, is particularly valuable when engaging with investors whose questions may challenge business models, market assumptions, growth plans, funding strategies, and all of that sort of thing. And we really want teams who can listen critically and respond constructively to that feedback. We're also looking for commitment and momentum from the businesses that come onto the program. So executive teams with a clear reason to scale now and sufficient capability to fully participate in the program. And as I said, really willingness to translate the program support into action. So if I was to sort of summarize ultimately what we're looking for in terms of the businesses we want to form our first sort of scale up cohort, we're looking for businesses that progress beyond initial validation. They have credible evidence of demand and they have significant growth potential, but still have important work to do to become fully scalable and investment ready. These are the businesses that we think the program support can really make the greatest difference to. So we can move on to the next slide, please. So I've just kind of gone through and described the types of businesses that we think the program is intended to support. But alongside that kind of target profile, every applicant must satisfy 5 kind of formal eligibility requirements before his application can progress further. First, an applicant must be a small to medium-sized enterprise. For this program, we are defining it as an enterprise that has fewer than 250 employees, an annual turnover below £44 million, and a balance sheet total of below £38 million. Secondly, the applicant must be a UK registered business. Thirdly, the solution must be at a TRL level between 7 and 9. In practical terms, this means it must have progressed beyond lab development or an initial proof of concept, and it should have been at least demonstrated in a real operational environment, and ideally, excuse me, and ideally would have been proven through real world use. That requirement directly links to the types of businesses we've just described. The program is really designed to help proven innovations achieve wider commercial adoption. Fourthly, the solution must be applicable to the UK transport or built environment sectors. Applicants should really make that relevance clear rather than kind of expecting it to be inferred. As I mentioned before, sort of explain the use case, who experiences the problem, who the customer is, and how that solution can really create value within those sectors. Finally, the business must be able to participate actively between October 26 and March 27. As I said, this is a program that is really kind of interactive. It's really tailored around the business support needs. So being able to kind of participate actively and commit fully to it is really, really important. So those are the 5 eligibility requirements. Meeting those requirements, just like I say, simply confirms that a business is eligible to be considered. Obviously, there are wider questions as to whether it is at the right stage to benefit from the program, with whether it's got a proven solution, whether it's got a credible growth potential, etc. And that will all come out later on in the webinar when Natasha goes through the selection criteria for you. So hopefully that gives you a really brief but kind of clear overview of exactly what we're looking for on this program. And I will hand back to Natasha now.
I think I've just realised where this echo comes from, everyone, and I'm really sorry. I think I had also joined on my browser. I think that's the issue. If you're not experiencing an echo anymore, do let me know. Okay, so thanks everyone. I will now talk about key dates and the timeline. So we have a deadline of 11th of September. This was put in place so that, if anyone's dialing in from their holiday right now, first of all, thank you very much. We know that being a SME is a tough life, but you will have time in September to do that application and ask us questions. We will then be doing a screening, an eligibility screening, and then scoring the applications, and I'll talk about that in the next slide. But we will be giving a notification of whether you have been shortlisted to be interviewed by the 18th of September. We then have a week where you can prepare for that interview, and interviews will take place 28th of September to the 2nd of October, with a panel of interviewees. We will let you know as soon as we do if you've got onto the program or not, and then October will be onboarding. So this will be contract signing and doing your business needs assessment, which will most likely be in person. So we can really have a deep dive into the business and get to know one another as a team. The sort of official program live period is November to February. The team have stressed that this is a short program, so it's really a case of being able to commit that time to do calls and review materials and work on the business, rather than just business as usual. And then I couldn't quite fit it onto the slide, but March will be a wind down month for me and my team. So for SMEs that get onto the program, that will look like, completing our kind of impact surveys and doing any kind of final sessions with our coaches to make sure you get the most out of the program. So talking about the scoring criteria now, as I said, I will be doing an eligibility screening as soon as your application comes through, and then we will be assessing your application based on these 4 areas of the scoring criteria. Each kind of those 4, there's a 10-star based system, and we have detailed notes on what qualifies, how many stars. And each application will be scored by 3 separate assessors, so really nice and fair. So we've got your solution. We'll be looking at, is the business offering a compelling and scalable solution with a strong potential for adoption? We'll be looking at leadership and team. So has a leadership team demonstrated the required experience, capability, and ambition to scale? We'll be looking at your financials and traction. So has the business demonstrated credible commercial traction and financial foundations for growth? And this is really important, program fit. Do we feel that the business is well aligned to the program and likely to benefit significantly from participation? So we'll be inviting up to 10 applicants from that scoring to be interviewed, and the interview scoring criteria will look very similar, but the program fit will be weighted slightly higher because at that point we obviously can't let anyone onto the program that sort of will not benefit significantly from the program. We only have 5 spaces on this program, so we need to really think carefully about who we're providing support to. If you are shortlisted to interview, you will be giving a 10-minute presentation, and then we'll delve into questions. And the presentation really kind of kicks us off, and then we have that time to ask you questions and really get into things. So, final slide, please, is on common pitfalls. I've made everything very concise here, but I'll just go into a bit more detail. So basically, please make sure you're eligible before putting time into an application. Your time is really precious. So if you have any questions, please do email us. My email is on the slide here, and I've also just put a QR code to the application form. But do email us if you're unsure of your eligibility. When you're filling out the form, please do be specific about your business model, your market opportunity, your traction, what you're hoping to achieve, etc. And please avoid being vague about the business, the technology, etc., etc. Please do answer the question being asked and be clear with your examples and avoid generic statements. Our assessors are really kind of well versed in this sort of thing, and yeah, we really appreciate you being accurate and specific. Make sure claims about traction, partnerships, revenue, pilots, investment are backed up with evidence where possible. Please be realistic in your forecasts and also your commitment to being available to take part in the program. We really want to make sure you get the best out of this, but that starts with you as a SME making sure you do have the capacity to take part if you're selected. Please don't assume our assessors already understand the market need or customer problem for your specific solution. This is a really broad program in terms of the solutions we're looking to onboard. So please don't make any assumptions. Please be clear about why the business is ready for scale-up support now. And explain the specific support needs rather than simply stating a general desire to grow. The more detail we have, the more we can kind of excitedly think, yes, okay, we can really make an impact here. Let's onboard them onto the program. Saying all that, do be concise. Think carefully about your responses. Make every word count. Make your response relevant to the question. This not only helps us when assessing, but as I said, your time is very valuable. We don't want you spending loads and loads of time on a long application. And finally, please review everything carefully. Make sure you haven't accidentally pasted a comment in with your answer that was not supposed to be for our eyes, or make sure everything's kind of correctly formulated so that we can review that accurately. I'm gonna be pasting a link into the chat now for the place where you can register to apply. But as I said, I've got the QR code on the screen as well. We're going to go to questions now, and delightfully, we're sort of 10 minutes ahead of schedule, so we have lots of time for questions. However, I only have one question so far from Jonathan Brown. It's a really good question. It's about, is this program specifically for businesses built around one innovation, or can we support solutions that scale businesses that are a mix of services and products? So I know I've got messages from my team internally answering this. Alex or Phil or Richard, do you want to jump in and answer this rather than me read messages live in a webinar?
I can jump in on this one.
Thanks, Phil.
No problem. So yeah, no problem applying if you've got a suite of solutions. I don't see that being an issue. The main thing is obviously making sure that you kind of meet the eligibility criteria and sort of the other kind of elements that we've outlined in terms of the challenge you're solving, the traction, etc., etc. But yeah, not a problem if you've got a kind of a suite of solutions.
Thanks, Phil. I'm also going to pass the next question to you about if commercial traction is lower than 500,000 in annual revenue, or demonstrating equivalent traction through public sector contracts or grant funding, will this SME be automatically excluded?
No, so that kind of evidence of traction at that revenue level is not part of the eligibility criteria, so you won't automatically be kind of excluded through that. But what I would say is we are looking at for businesses who have demonstrated significant commercial traction. So if you're not at that kind of revenue level, we do want to see kind of other evidence of commercial traction through things like paid for deployments, letters of intent, and other kind of credible sort of customer commitments. If businesses applying don't kind of, like I say, meet that initial kind of revenue profile, our assessors will be kind of able to use their discretion to say, are you demonstrating the kind of sort of the traction levels that we are looking for, and are you demonstrating kind of the exceptional potential that we're looking for in terms of this program? So you won't automatically be excluded, but we do need that strong evidence of traction on there.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much, Phil. So just a couple of really good questions coming in. Can you speak a little bit more about the commitment required from founders? So we haven't been specific about the number of hours or days because it is how long's a piece of string? How many coaching sessions we end up booking in with you, how much work behind the scenes you have to work on, updated deck, updated strategy, whatever. So it's really, really hard for us to say this is an exact number of hours or days. But, if you're entering a really busy period for the business, this is not the right thing because we need to be able to book in those sessions with you and have a bit of diary availability. And we need to kind of have relatively quick turnaround time on things. You know, that may look like a couple of extra hours in the week, but it is hard to be specific, but we just don't want you to sign up for something that you're not prepared to actually put some time into and make the most out of. I'm really sorry I can't be more specific on that one. Um, I know the session is being recorded. Someone's asked, can we get a copy of this presentation sent to us, please? I know it's being recorded, and I do believe the recording's being sent around. Vivian, I don't know if you want to come in on that, but I do believe we're making this available.
Yeah, so after the webinar, we'll send an email around with the presentation and the recording for you to have a look at.
Thank you very much. So is maritime transport in scope? I do believe it is in scope, yes. Unless the team can confirm that, I will just confirm with someone who's on annual leave right now and get back to you, Alan. Maybe, Alan, it might be worth emailing me because I can't access your email from this chat function, and then I can just get back to you next week. So Composite Braiding have asked if we're sharing confidential details. We would like to have an NDA in place. Can we do that confidentially with you? Yes. So if you apply to our program, there's a data agreement. If you're sharing confidential information with us, that is dealt very sensitively. If you're onboarded onto the program and you want an NDA set up with us or any of the partners you're working with, that can be arranged. We just have to look at obviously timescales for that. But we have a lot of experience working with startups, and we would never kind of compromise your confidential information because we understand it's very sensitive. Okay. I haven't seen any more questions come through. I'm just looking at the chat because some people have put questions in the chat. Oh. Okay, so there's a question talking about even though we meet the criteria, our revenue will be below 500K in our first year because we were formed in June 2025. Should we not apply? As kind of Philip said, I would apply. If we think we can significantly help you and you roughly meet the criteria of being a startup and you meet the eligibility criteria, two separate things, then we would consider you. So I would apply, but if you're worried, do just send me an email and I'll get back to you formally on that one. Okay, I don't think there are any more questions. So if there's anything we've missed or something comes to you, send me an email. And I really encourage you all to apply. This is a really fresh and unique opportunity. And we're really looking forward to kind of working with you all. Thanks to the team who's delivered the webinar, and I hope you have a lovely lunchtime, everyone.